United Kingdom's utterly daft allowance of mass migration is coming home to roost in a place that is already historically a hotspot of political turmoil, Northern Ireland, with an attempted beheading. Import the third world, become the third world.
And a barbaric act of violence in Belfast has left a man fighting for his life, having almost been beheaded in front of shocked and terrified onlookers. A Sudanese refugee has been arrested with news of his immigration status, turning an already shocking event into a chaotic and ugly night across Northern Ireland and the UK.
I'm Caroline Downey of National Review, and that was reporting that a Sudanese migrant living in Belfast, Northern Ireland, tried to, yes, cut off the head of a man. Warning, this clip is pretty graphic.
And helpless with a knife to his throat.
Has he got a knife?
Yeah. Get off him, you f***ing rat.
An attempted beheading on the streets of Belfast.
He's slicing his hair off here.
The victim barely alive as bystanders attempt to buy precious time, with police already on their way.
Yes! Yes! Stand up! Stand up!
The migrant has the man pinned to the ground, quite literally trying to saw his head off as he is struggling to break free. Thankfully, some courageous bystanders intervened, including one who tried to beat the migrant guy off with a hurley stick, which, fun fact, has a deep connection to Irish mythology and famously was used by one of the great heroes of Gaelic Ireland. Pretty symbolic. As a result of the attack, though, the victim, named Stephen Ogilvie, has reportedly lost his left eye entirely and is now blind in his right eye. Reports online suggest that this man was disabled with at least hearing issues, so probably didn't see this guy coming from behind.
That was attacked. She says she used to babysit for him when he was younger. He's special needs and he's hard of hearing.
Yeah.
And she said...
So now he can't see, he already couldn't hear, he's been brutalized. And what makes this infinitely worse is that apparently this guy, just a few days before the attempted killing, was helping the migrant who would become his assailant move into the neighborhood as a gesture of neighborly goodwill. As for this migrant's backstory, he was granted refugee status after arriving in the United Kingdom. He's believed to have traveled from Sudan to Paris, then to Dublin, before taking a bus to Belfast in February 2023, where he has stayed ever since.
That young man, well, he's 47, she said. He's been living there for about 2 years. And she said them foreigners that moved in only moved in like 4 days ago. Right. And he was doing everything to help them out when they moved in. And it's not just one. There was 2 of them jumped him. But right. The news hasn't given it out yet. The 2 of them moved into the flat. Wow. And one of them was the one that was arrested. The other one hasn't been mentioned anywhere in the news yet.
But he was involved in the attack, allegedly.
This is what she said.
So there may be a second attacker, or at least accomplice, on the loose in Northern Ireland as well. Coming on the heels of this incident was the murder of teenage boy Henry Novak in England by a Sikh man who stabbed him several times in the chest with a ceremonial knife randomly on the street, which we covered on our YouTube channel. Check it out. But what we're seeing is a pattern of medieval, barbaric violence against English citizens by backwards cultures that the UK has welcomed without the English population's consent. We've seen enough cases now to conclude that these groups do not respect Western civilization or its principles like the rule of law. Riots are now bubbling up across Belfast and the UK from English people. It's getting ugly. In Belfast, some rioters are burning down the houses believed to belong to migrants. But when the government will not defend its citizens, it is inevitable that the people will eventually take matters into their own hands.
They're not listening. The political class are not listening. These people who are coming over here illegally, they're rapists, terrorists. They're coming over here. It's literally like putting a wolf in a sheep field. You are giving them a target-rich environment. You haven't vetted them. You've done nothing. All you've done is dump them in a place where they can wreak havoc. Where they come from, guess what? There's no law. If they can do literally whatever they like. They come over here, there's lawyers, of course, taxpayer funded. They get a nice cushy home, running water, Sky TV, gym memberships, bus passes. They can literally go where they want and create havoc. And when they do, the people that foisted them upon us, guess what? They say, don't get upset. Don't do anything. Don't go out and cause unrest. Well, I'll tell you what, mate. Stop reaping, then you might not have to sow it, because this country is absolutely on the edge.
That right there is a British citizen who has had enough. If these episodes keep happening, I do foresee rebellion, although maybe not armed, because UK citizens aren't allowed means of self-defense. They're forbidden from owning formal weapons, which is itself a violation of their rights, but alas, they have no Second Amendment. But I'm sure they'll get creative if it comes down to it. By the way, the maximum penalty for an adult carrying a knife or a weapon illegally in the United Kingdom is either 4 years in prison, an unlimited fine, or both. But if you're a Sikh, then you can own one of these enormous ceremonial knives.
Guys, I've asked you to leave with your ceremonial knives, okay? You're in a public place, and you aren't. I do not mind you being here, this is not racist. You're carrying knives in public park, okay?
Two-tier policing, two-tier justice system, double standards for minority groups. The United Kingdom is out of its mind, and I'm just kind of curious how they thought this was sustainable. Now, Northern Ireland officials are condemning the retaliatory violence against the migrant community there, but they're never going to admit how we got here. Michelle O'Neill, the First Minister of Northern Ireland, said the burning of homes was, quote, disgusting cowardice, racism, intimidation, and violence are wrong wherever they occur. Hilary Benn, the Northern Ireland Secretary, said there was, quote, no justification at all for this type of destruction and thuggery. Yeah, violence is not okay. Wesley Yang wrote on X that what's happening in Northern Ireland is particularly interesting because it's essentially these tribal people from Africa who only know communal violence confronting Northern Irish people who have retained some tribal proclivities and capacity for communal violence as well. He's referring to the Troubles, the conflict between the English Protestants and Irish Catholics in Northern Ireland. It was a territorial dispute, it was also a religious dispute, and there was a lot of rioting and bombing in the region's history, to be sure. But Wesley says, quote, the way to preserve Western Europe as a place beyond tribalistic hatreds and violence was to keep out those who would not live by the same law-governed protocols. Having failed in this reasonable and moderate course through the fecklessness of its political elites, now some degree of aversion to practices drawn from Europe's tribalistic past seems already baked into the cake. In a nutshell, the chaos breaking out in the streets right now, the protests over what happened to Stephen Ogilvy and Henry Novak, is because the British government did not choose the practical and peaceful option, mass deportations. The state had one job, which is to enforce the law. The purpose of the law is to protect people's private property, most importantly, your body, from external threats. This goes all the way back to John Locke and early political philosophers. But the UK has abdicated its most important responsibility to do this. Vigilantes are the obvious natural conclusion. And the elites in British media are pushing the same talking points as the government, while average people in these little towns are getting terrorized. Some members of the media in Britain are arguing that the problem is not migrant violence, it's the fact that it's been documented and circulated online.
It sort of beggars belief that a video of that nature was allowed to be circulated for hours and hours on end this morning without any consequences or with any of those companies that are regulated here in Ireland being called up on it.
Yeah, free expression in the UK is most definitely dead, given that people also get arrested for mean tweets, and the British people themselves may have in general been pretty tolerant of this DEI regime and policing because they were brainwashed into thinking that being accused of being a bigot or a racist was worse than suffering actual crime, until they suffered that actual crime, until it affects them personally. For the first time in a long time, the British people may be getting shocked out of their woke coma. The future of Western civilization, which the UK once played a pivotal role in shaping, depends on that. The UK can start by voting out all its progressive leadership, abolishing the entire asylum system, and yeah, mass deportations.